Thank you for listening to the Following Films podcast. I'm your host, Chris Maynard, and today I'm talking with director Destry Allyn Spielberg about her new film, Please Don't Feed the Children. It's a tense, gripping horror thriller set in a world where a virus has wiped out the adult population, and a group of orphans finds themselves taken hostage by a mysterious woman with a dark secret. The film features a fantastic cast, including Michelle Dockery, Giancarlo Esposito, and Zoe Colletti, and marks Destry's feature directorial debut. Please Don't Feed the Children arrives exclusively on Tubi this Friday, June 27th, and it's one you won't want to miss. Stay tuned. This is a great conversation you're going to want to hear. Hope you enjoy the show. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. I know we don't have much time, so I just want to jump right into it because I was really struck by how bold this is for a debut feature. You're taking on something that's both socially poignant as well as something that's deeply human, but also leaning into genre tropes. That's a lot of things, like a lot of plates that you're spinning at once to take on for the first time at bat. What was it that made you think this is the one that I want to make my first mark with?
I like a challenge.
Clearly.
I like a challenge. I ultimately, truly, it was the script itself was such an incredible read. And when I read it, I mean, I could see exactly how I would shoot it. I could see, the way that I would color it. There's so many parts of the script that just made sense. And it was more, I would say truly it was a instinctual choice. And I just went with it. No, but all seriousness, it took a lot of work to get made. It was extremely challenging in the most beautiful possible way. And I enjoyed every second of it. I mean, it's indie filmmaking is so rewarding because you get to take something raw and convince people to want to make it with you. And then after years of convincing, you finally get on location and you get to make it, and it's still so challenging. Like, it's just there. It's like, it's the most entertaining job you could have because you're dealing with so many moving parts and also learning how to collaborate and working with people who are so collaborative. It's like a family. I mean, you truly, like, I didn't want it to end. And we only had 18 days to film it, and I didn't want it to end.
This was shot in 18 days. That's really impressive, yes, considering the size of this. You're moving around quite a bit, and you are covering a lot here. That's early on in the film. I got to point out to something in that, to what you're talking about. You can do things in indie film that you often can't do in major films and these big releases, where you think of the gas station sequence and you kind of set the stakes of how things might not go the way you're anticipating, despite the fact you've set up this dystopian reality. I think that you see this moment of violence that happens, and I don't want to give anything away, but it really does set the stakes of this film that kind of says, okay, put aside the things that you might think are going to happen, stop trying to get ahead of it, and let the story reveal itself to you. Yeah. And it's such a smart movie that does so many interesting things throughout.
Thank you. Yeah, it was, the movie itself keeps you guessing.
Mm-hmm.
The point was so that everyone is constantly on the edge of their seat, questioning things, and I think as a moviegoer, as an audience member, if you love movies, you're always going to try to anticipate the ending.
Of course.
And my job as a director for this one specifically was to try to lean into it and also away from it so that, you can kind of give the audience some satisfaction and then also have that moment of, the aha or the, oh, I didn't see that coming. Because that's the fun part about watching movies. It should be fun to watch a movie.
Absolutely.
And that's, yeah.
And it has to maintain the logic so that when you have the turn and you sort of show your hand and what this has been the whole time, it can't feel like it's so out of left field that it doesn't line
Hmm.
out. The second viewing, which is a movie that I think really does lend itself to rewatch because
Yeah.
you can go
Mhm.
back and understand things that the breadcrumbs are there the whole time, I
They
think.
are, and that's something that I really do value in filmmaking is when directors don't lay it all out on the table. You know, they're not spoon feeding you. And so when you do watch it a second time, you start noticing things that you didn't notice before. And I
Mm,
did that intentionally. It's kind of like if you're talking to somebody, it's better to talk to them quietly because then they're actually going to listen to you rather
smart.
than if you're talking to them like at a normal, voice, they're more likely to kind of, veer off in another direction. Um, which is a great tactic to know, by the way.
I love that. That's really
Yeah.
smart advice.
So it's I did it for a reason. And also, listen, there's a lot of moving parts in the story.
Mhm.
So in, the editing of the story, there were moments that we had to cut. There were moments that were too long. There were things, and then we had a small budget. So there's a lot that we had to do, um, kind of like we had to allude to, but maybe not necessarily, you see it right in front of you. Um, which is fine. It's great. It's fun. It's an indie film.
But there's not an ounce of fat on this film where it is. I don't think you could pare anything else out of this, but there's nothing here that isn't necessary to the film. It doesn't feel like there's those when I've made stuff, I fall in love with certain moments, and there's things that become my darlings that don't really service the story. Did you have
Yeah.
those things that you were able to cut or that you had to cut that you didn't want to, but it was really in service of the story?
I would say there were more like on the day that there were shots that I wanted to do that truly or even in prep that we just didn't have the budget for that
Mm,
I was really holding on to and just yeah, you have to it's like Marion Kondo. You have to like what like I guess her whole thing is if it doesn't bring you joy, you throw it away. But with this,
right.
it's like some things brought me joy, but you just got to sacrifice and you always find another way. And again, like everything happens for a reason. It all will work out in the end as long as you're smart about it, as long as you make sense of what you got. And sometimes it's like it truly is like you get what you get and you don't get upset and you work with what you have. And there was a scene in there that we had to create from an accidental recording. And that was not in the script.
That's
Which
amazing.
I'd be curious which one you would have think it. I want to say it, but I also don't want to give it away. Hmm.
Um, is it just audio that's being used
Hmm.
for it? And
Hmm.
is it okay? And is it okay? I will send this to the publicist afterwards because I don't want to. I don't know how to speak to this without giving this away. But there is this. There's a. Is it in the final sort of third of the movie?
No, I'll put it this way. It's the first one to go.
Oh, okay, got you. Interesting. Okay, got it. I wow. Okay. I really you need to have a further conversation about this. There needs to be Blu-ray
Yeah.
extras for this. You need to be able to break that down because I am deeply, deeply curious of what that should have been and how this came about because that's really fascinating.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Totally unorganized, like not unorganized, totally out of script, like format,
Interesting.
like
Okay.
switcheroo.
Just pulling it out and changing the okay, got
Like
it.
complete, like moving this scene that's over here, having to move this scene over here, and then having to create a scene to fill that spot.
That's awesome. Those are
Yeah.
some of my favorite moments, and really good editors are able to find that because I can't divorce myself from context ever. And so
Oh
the
yeah.
things that I know in my mind, it's really tough for me to see it with new eyes. But people say, no, no, all you do is move this over here, and that
You just have
changes
to
the
step
meaning.
back and watch it as an audience
Hmm,
and try to take I mean, it's so much easier said than done to take your director brain out of it. And also you have to remember that you know more than the audience knows going into watching a movie because you know
not
the
agree with you
story.
more. Yeah,
So that's hard to separate yourself and be like, okay, wait, this doesn't make sense because no one's going to know, even though I know this, no one's actually going to understand this.
right. Well, I know we're out of time, and I could talk to you about this for a minimum of another hour. I'm really sorry. I think you got something really special here, and I have to
Thank
throw it out
you.
there. Michelle Dockery is incredible in the movie, and she's doing stuff I didn't know that she could do. So I was really stoked to see this side of her. It was really
Awesome.
great
I'm
casting.
so
So
glad to hear that.
yeah. So congratulations, you got a special one
Thank
here.
you
Nice
so
to meet
much.
you. Take care.
Nice to meet you.
We used some bridges that we wired and blown. That time's over now. So over now. I can't say I'm sad to see it go. That's over now. So over now. So what you doing in a couple of years? On a Saturday, round Halloween, I'll take your hand and I'll spit up fake blood. Should have known. So now here we go. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. I don't remember the cold times so well. We got so drunk that night. I watched you stomp the life out your phone. I felt special then. It was bad taste or dead alive. And I know you know. I meant what I said. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. It looks like the winter's never gonna be cold. I don't remember the cold times so well. And most people never get what you've always been, always been, always been. And most people never get